Alrighty, and we are live. My name is Isaac. I'm the co-founder of Pet Summits and the host of the Pet Care Report. The mission of this show is to connect pet parents with the world's leading pet experts and brands to discover the latest trends, innovations, and essential products for optimal pet care. Today, on episode 11 of the Live Pet Care Report, we're very excited to have a very special guest, co-founder of Earth Buddy Pet, Sean Zyer. Hope I'm saying that right.
Yes.
Growing up, growing up, Sean only had one career in mind, and that was to help pets stay healthy. So Sean is going to talk to us today and give us some insight about how Earth Body was created, and talk to us about why the use and impact of CBD for our pets is so beneficial, especially for our pets that are suffering from anxiety. Welcome, Sean. Thank you so much. It's a pleasure to have you on board today. I've heard so much about your company. Dr. D. Blanco was, she raves about you guys. Dr. Katie Woodley was the first person that told me about you, I think at the beginning of the year, I know it was actually last year. It's been 12 months now. So it's an absolute pleasure to finally get to meet you. Unfortunately, borders to Australia was a little bit strict, so I haven't been able to leave the country yet. But thankfully for technology, we're able to get you here. So welcome, Sean. Thank you.
Thank you for having me, Isaac. I really appreciate it. And the vets you mentioned are great at what they do. And it's always good that we're having that communication with the veterinary world because it's a new category for pets. There's a lot of unknowns. There's a lot of hesitation for pet owners to try something like this. So having the vets, be aware of it and know what a good company has been a real benefit to us in terms of knowing what they're looking for and knowing, and confirming the safety of it, I think is probably the biggest thing when it comes to what we do.
Yeah, and I think that's where it's even in Australia. I think fortunately America is ahead of the times, but like we were saying off air, like Australia, there's not many veterinarians that are on board with it, and there's a huge issue. But the science and data. So just before we get into all of that,
Yeah.
tell us how did you come about creating Earth Body? What was the story, and why did you get into creating this amazing product?
Yeah, it's my favorite story to tell, and it's such an important story to tell when we get into the science and data. But basically, I had adopted from a family member a 13-year-old collie mix breed. Her name was Kiva, and when we got her, she was in really bad shape. She was having tons of seizures, emaciated, on lots of pharmaceuticals, and there wasn't much hope for my family members, you know, to keep her around much longer. And they really were having a hard time making that tough decision to put her down. And I was working in the pet industry, and I worked for a distributor that sold hundreds of products to all the local retailers here in Denver. And I knew quite a bit about pet nutrition, just working with these retailers and veterinarians as well. And I said, I'll bring her in and see if we can give her some quality of life. And if it doesn't work out, I can make that tough decision. I know it's hard, but I was like, I didn't grow up with her, so it won't be as devastating to me. Well, right away, you bring any dog into your house, you fall in love with them.
Yeah.
She was amazing, but she had all these issues. So basically, what we started doing is feeding her better nutrition. We changed her food to better quality food, whole foods. We started supplementing her with basic supplements, but in Colorado, we have legal cannabis here, both on the marijuana side and the hemp side. We can get into the difference of those, here in a little bit. But basically, because of that, you're always 1 degree separated from the cannabis industry. So I was very fortunate that I knew two scientists that lived up here in Longmont, Colorado, and they were running a hemp farm growing outdoor organic hemp that produces high CBD. And so I said, hey, I'm kind of weary of any products out there that are for pets or people because you don't know anything about them. And it's such a new industry. Could I source it from you and start supplementing her? So in combination with all the things I mentioned before about the food and stuff, we started dosing her and heavily dosing her because we didn't know how long we were going to have her. And it really changed her quality of life. So much so that we were able to keep her around for another year and a half. And, you know, the biggest thing and the driver of mostly of what I do is giving pets quality of life, especially as they get older. And so with Kiva, we saw that in her, and she was thriving. She was going on long walks with us. She was attacking my little dog. Uh, she really, you know, turned it around. And I think, you know, in conjunction with all the things I mentioned, um, it really has a real need and benefit for these pets, especially as they get older. Um, Throughout that process, we saw such great benefits with Kiva that we then started the company in Denver, and we were in a small kitchen that made cakes and cookies for dogs, and we baked cookies and made our products there. And then we've since moved into our GMP facility up here in Longmont. But you know, it started for my own pets, and you know, my whole focus is to give that same quality of life to as many pets as possible.
Yeah, that's an amazing story, and we've heard so much about the benefits with senior dogs and the pain relief. I know when I had COVID, I got some CBD oil, and that was I felt like I'd been hit by a train, and I was in so much pain, and I never taken CBD or any type of form before. Well, I've tried it, but I wasn't a big fan. But oh my god, it was so good. It helped me sleep. So I can only imagine the dogs, which never tell us about the pain that they're in, and they hide it so much better than us.
Yeah.
Like when you hear this turnaround story that they're able to go on long walks, that's really amazing. It's a true testament to how beneficial CBD is. I guess that kind of goes into my next question, because there are so many different products out there in the market. Why are your products so beneficial, and can you talk to us a little bit more about that?
Yeah, I think, you know, one of the main reasons I really, you know, started pursuing Earth Buddy as a real thing and a company that we're now sold nationally, is because when these products were coming out and when I had Kiva, the products available to pets were very unclear on where they came from, how they were grown, um, you know, what was actually in them. You know, the labeling has been an issue for every brand, regardless of who they are. There's been a lot of confusion on how to label things. And so when that happened in 2014, 2015, um, I really didn't feel comfortable using any of those products. I knew that at the time, because Colorado is the first state to bring hemp back into America as a regular agricultural crop. I knew at the time there wasn't enough supply for the demand. So a lot of the hemp was still coming from Europe and China. And so that posed a bunch of issues in terms of quality and things like that. So to kind of fast track that into why we started Earth Buddy is we had a small 5-acre organic farm growing it right here in Colorado by two PhDs, and they knew more about the cannabis plant than any two people I've ever met. And the focus was on growing as organically and rigorously as possible, not using pesticides, not you know, cultivating the soil, those types of things, using a clean water source. Those types of things are what jumped out to me because we're so detached from our food sources as people. It's even worse in pet. And so one of the things I really wanted to do with this company and why I think we're so different is we can explain down to the very seed of our product, how it was produced, how it was grown, how we harvest it, how we dry it, you know, every step of the way we can control. And I think, you know, that's why some of the vets you had mentioned, Dr. D and Dr. Katie, that's why they get on board with us because there's full transparency. And I think what was happening in the early stages of just the hemp industry as a whole is there was a lot of like proprietary and, you know, that's the secret sauce that we're doing. When the reality is, in the bigger industry of cannabis, there isn't a lot of secrets. It's, can you grow a good plant? Can you keep it as natural as possible? And can you explain what it is and be transparent, have COAs, like lab tests, available to the general public, and be transparent with it? So I think that's one thing. I think the other thing that has really separated us as a company is our ability to innovate beyond just a single molecule in CBD. So CBD is great. We think it does a lot of pets good and people, but there's more to the plant, and then there's other ingredients that we've introduced to the pet world that I think were kind of being used by some holistic vets and some brands, but we've kind of combined them with our CBD products, and I think that's really helped us kind of change the way we think about it.
Yeah, amazing, and that's really important about the sourcing. And we've spoken with Greg Tilford, who's a herbalist. I'm not too sure if you've worked with him before, and he talks about it's not just about the herbs that you get; it's where they're sourced, and then what happens from there. And like you were saying, there's so many different steps along the process where from the water source, how good, how clean is the water, what water are you using to clean it, and then what pesticides could be around in the area, right? And if you're able to have that understanding right from the very seed, you're able to get it really like as organic as possible. So that's a really I think an important thing that especially if it's coming from offshore, like if it's coming from another country, and then it has to get into America, even if it is organic and not touched, there are different regulations in each country, and it hasn't been fumigated. Could there be other insects that are in that country that aren't in America, and to protect your agriculture? There is, because I used to work in logistics, so there's lots of different things. So that's that even if it is organically grown, and that's where they get away with the marketing, because it was organically grown, at some point along in the pipeline, they can get away with saying it's organically sourced.
I think to your point, Isaac, like just to kind of build off on that, you can grow the greatest plant in the world. I think one of the things that we really try to stress is that you still have to process that, and you still have to pull these compounds out of the plant. How you do that changes the complexity of what that extract is in the plant. So it could be as organic as you want in the ground, but if you're putting tons of chemicals on it and adding all these steps in the process, it gets very far from what it was as a natural product. And that's, our name is Earth Buddy. We want to keep it as close to the earth as possible.
Yeah, that's what we kind of lack with, and like what you're saying with the food industry right now. It's when anything we get, like it's that's another story that we can go down
for sure.
There's a really amazing study that you're currently doing. Can you talk to us a little bit more about what it is about, and what is the benefit for people to participate, and why are you actually doing this research?
Yeah, it's been a long time coming. Since we started, the two biggest things people come to our products are for calming and for, the discomfort and issues with joints and stuff like that. So those two categories are kind of predominantly why people come to the CBD category. And we have like product quizzes and things like that. But what I was seeing is predominantly it was for stress in pets. And a lot of times it's hard to notice until it's like at level 5,000 with a lot of our pets. So with us seeing that amount of interest in the category for simply just stress, we wanted to have some data, because the thing is like we talked about quality. There's a lot of different types of CBD companies out there. Some are great and some I don't know much about, but the thing is they might still work for an animal, but we wanted to take that a step further in terms of showing real data as opposed to reviews and just word of mouth, and actually have some data to go, hey, this is the data that we saw with our customer base that signed up for this study. And basically the study involves us allowing customers to come onto the site, basically get a free product to try, and they can use the product for about 21 to 26 days. And we ask them a series of questions. They can do it at home. They don't have to go to a lab or anything. This survey portion or in-home portion is really important from a scientific data standpoint. So we're really excited because sometimes in a lab, it's not always going to be as clear because it's not relative to what that pet owner is going to deal with in their day-to-day life. So we're actually getting real in-home data from this, from the pet owners. And we're really excited because we gave them multiple options of an edible versus an oil. It's a really huge opportunity because there is a lot of research out there for pets and people on these products, but I don't see a ton of data on specifically stress in pets. So I think it's needed, and we want to be the pioneers of that for sure.
Amazing. And like which is why everyone's talking about, I guess that's why we're doing the dog anxiety summit coming up.
Yeah.
With the dogs going back, sorry, not the dogs, with the pet parents, everyone going back to work around the world, everything's starting to open up. Now we've got, and a lot of people got COVID puppies. So they've been used to us for the last 2 years being in our company, and now everyone's like going back to work, and so the levels of stress and anxiety is going through the roof. What is it about that CBD and the difference between the edibles and you were just saying the edibles and the oils, and why are you trialing two different types of options?
Yeah, so I think a couple things there to those questions. I think when we look about what is it about that helps them, all mammals have a endocannabinoid system. So this system is a chemical system that helps us balance things in our body. We know that it acts on certain receptors in the body, like that deal with our serotonin regulation, things like that. So mood balancing. So because we know these things through the studies available to us, that's why so many people are using it for these main categories that I mentioned before. When it comes to an edible versus an oil, we really just wanted to give the pet owners a few options because some pets are going to be 100 plus pounds. You're going to have an Anatolian Shepherd, or you're going to have a little Chihuahua. So the Chihuahua might not be crazy about a plant extract and oil. Some are, some aren't, but we wanted to give them a few options. I think it'll be really interesting to see the data once it's published to see, what was more effective, an edible or an oil. Also to see, what mostly everybody, tried out for the study. What was it predominantly? Obviously, from a administration standpoint, treats or, an edible product is always going to be an easier delivery device to get, the CBD in their body. But oil is usually more cost effective and more concentrated. So there's options there, and we wanted to provide those. We also did have another administration that is a pump device that has a water soluble form of CBD that is in distilled water. And so the reason we made that product available in this study is that one is a little bit more faster absorbed into their body. And we see a much quicker calming effect from that product. So we gave these options because we wanted them to not be limited by one thing, but they all have the same active compound that we're trying to look at from a calming standpoint.
Yeah, okay, that makes a lot of sense. And I guess we got we got a bit of time, so we got a couple of questions from the audience. We have Cindy. She's asked, how beneficial is CBD for an overactive immune system? The dog has been raw fed from 6 weeks, and she's had no vaccines, and she's 4 years old now.
Yeah. So to the endocannabinoid system point, I think there's something we have to consider when we think about it. And we all have this system, and it naturally makes compounds in our body that resemble what the cannabis plant creates. what happens is if you have a overactive dog or overactive immune system, I apologize, that system interacts with every function of our body that has a chemical function. So if we think about our immune system, it's definitely going to interact with that, whether we're using CBD or not. But what I'm trying to say is, if we have a pet with these issues, or name the issue, their natural cannabinoid production, so we produce cannabinoids naturally, can only handle so much stress. And when I say stress, I'm not talking about emotional or mood. I'm talking about, all types of stress on the body. It can only handle so much, so the body becomes limited to that. And so when we introduce something like CBD, we usually see an amazing response. Even in small doses with our products, we see a pretty profound result with animals. Now, when we say overreactive immune system, I think of like allergies and stuff. That's an inflammatory response to the environment. And, with our CBD products, we see a really good response in those cases, whether it's seasonal or, just situational like that. We also include functional mushrooms in our product too, for that same reason.
Yeah, well, I've recently been looking into mushrooms myself, and the research, and there's not much out there about mushrooms for pets, and it's really quite interesting about the benefits of psilocybin and what can go into. But I guess there's many different types of mushrooms and forms of mushrooms, and the benefit of it. I guess. We've got a question from Will. He'd love to hear about your take on the bioavailability issue of CBD oil.
In terms of an issue, I don't see a ton of issues there. I know that there is marketing that I've seen that says, to take with food and without food. I know that's a big argument. The data available that I've seen in terms of like published studies is that cannabis of all forms pairs well with a high fat diet. Most pet food is high in fat. So if we know that most pet food is high in fat, we encourage them to use it with food. And the data available will show that. Now, there is some studies that I have seen where, to cross, the digestive tract there, you could lose some efficacy there. But in terms of what we use in our products, we have not seen any issues versus a product that says, we formulate it this way and it's supposed to be more bioavailable. I haven't seen any absorption studies that would allude to it being less bioavailable. The other thing I always talk about with a natural supplement, I think this is really important to note. The endocannabinoid system has receptors all over the body. It literally spans the whole body. So, excuse me. So basically, when we look at the cannabinoid system, we have to look at it as a full system. So when they take a product, if they're absorbing that product, whether they absorb it through the digestive tract or not, we're going to have a lot of receptors that it will touch. So if you excuse me for 1 second, I'm sorry.
No, that's okay. The beauty of being live.
I'm here for Deb.
I know, I can't talk right now. You can go in there.
Okay, I'm sorry.
Excuse me. Sorry about that. So yeah. To finish my point, though, we were talking about the bioavailability.
Yeah.
Whenever we take something natural, especially with something that we have receptors for across our body, I don't think we're going to lose any absorption there. I think ultimately it should be benefiting them in some way. Now, when we talk about absorption and bioavailability, I don't know what exactly that means in terms of a CBD product. So okay. I just kind of poke back at the question. I'm sorry.
Yeah, no, that's fine. What about, I guess I'm just going to put a link up here now. When is this study going to be available for people? And can people still participate?
Yes. So the study is running through July 8th. They can sign up until Friday. And then once they receive their product, we basically have a text message that we will send to them on a daily basis to see if they receive the product. And then once they get the product, they will get regular updates to just kind of check in. How is it working? How is it helping? And then we will go from there.
And then
And
so
then,
they just go to
yeah,
Earthbody Pet.
yeah. So the link I could share, there's an actual link for the actual study on our page at the top of the page. They follow that link and then they move on from there. So once they sign up, they'll get a text message that basically says, this is what you're signing up for. We'll get all their pets information, and then daily text messages to kind of check in to see if it's helping calm their pet.
Yeah, perfect. If you want to give us the link to that,
Absolutely.
we can post that in our Facebook group. The other question I had, and this is, I guess, I know right now it's in North America, like in Australia, where you don't have any companies.
Yeah. No pet companies?
Well, there's a couple, but it's very you have to go to a veterinarian first of all to prescribe it. But yeah, it's and I guess there's coming into the different levels of the quality of, or if there's THC in it, and then like just not THC. So, but if it, like just from a supplement point, are you guys looking at expanding and shipping internationally?
So you brought up the main point. So we use a full spectrum product, meaning we do not remove anything. We try to keep it as true to what that plant was in the ground. So
Okay.
because of that, we are going to have those trace amounts of THC in there. Our legal limit in America is 0.3% THC or less. So because of that, it's almost non-detectable, but that is what we're limited to. We call that a full spectrum product, and we don't want to take steps to remove that small amount, because what the research has shown is that it is more effective with the full plant extract in there. Companies have started to remove the small amount of THC so they can sell internationally. It's something that we would consider down the road, maybe if we wanted to create just an international brand, but that's the only way I've seen it ship as of now. And I haven't looked much into it because it's kind of against what we believe in terms of what research shows. But the whole plant is greater than the sum of its individual parts, and that's always been kind of the case with, like, when you look at herbs or essential oils. I think it's really important to note.
Yeah, we've ordered a couple of things, and we just run the risk of let's see if it gets through the border or not. that's how we do it.
We have a lot of interest in Canada. We initially were able to ship it to Canada at one point, but since then it's been kind of a challenge for us. So we've just stepped away from kind of trying to address that. It's a tough one because studies show that these full spectrum products work better, but if you want to expand out, you have to remove some things.
Yeah, well, thank you so much for your time, Sean. I know you're a busy man. You got so much going on, so we really appreciate you for everything that you do for our pets, and we really appreciate you putting the effort and creating this amazing study that is finishing up shortly. So we're going to send a link to everybody to make sure that they can people in America to sign up so they can be a part of this be a part of this trial. Which is also going to go help, and the more evidence that we have, that more that we're able to get this product out to as many people as possible. So sorry for everyone that we weren't able to get your questions answered today. But is there a way for people to reach out to you or contact you guys?
Yeah, you can go to our website and just hit us up on the contact page. You can hit us up on social media. Earthbody Pet is everything: YouTube, all the Instagram stuff. Sorry I couldn't get to the questions. I would love to help you guys out with whatever I can. I know there's a lot of confusion in kind of how to use, when to use. I'm happy to help, and we have tons of information on our website on that as well.
Amazing, amazing. So thank you so much for that, Sean. And we hope to be working with you in the future again. And we can't
Yeah.
wait to see this amazing study come out.
Yes, can't wait to show you guys the data.
Awesome.
Thank you.